Esports curriculum is a little bit odd right now. And I don't mean odd in that it's wrong. I mean it is certain schools or certain organizations are focusing on certain parts of it. It is currently incomplete. So let me start with higher education. What we're seeing in higher ed is that the school is, students are coming in, they're in the esports program, they're wanting to learn video production, right? Because they don't want to be, they love playing games with their friends and they'll be competitive with their friends, but when they don't want to be part of the varsity team that actually goes head to head with other people. And again, 90% of students, about, depending on your school, don't want to do that, but they're like, I could do the video. They're seeing that, hey, I'm just going to take video production in college and then I can help the esports program. And what schools are starting to really do in higher education space is, well, let's help them. Let's teach them certain pieces during the day because we're focusing on how production is done or videography is done in esports. Let's help them so that when they do hit the esports program, they feel like they can actually use some of the skills they've learned instead of trying to adapt them from what they've learned. So more of a one-to-one. And that is happening, again, with like Syracuse being a prime example of taking the Whitman School of Management, which is the business school, and the Newhouse School of Communications and the law school and other spaces within Syracuse, and they're starting to tie that together for a massive esports curriculum. And that means students can start to cherry pick. Where we're also seeing people help is in the K through 12 space, is there are organizations that do provide some curriculum. You also have some options of like NASEF, which has some great free curriculum. It's not as expansive as like a Pearson program, which actually has all the lesson plans and what the quizzes look like and the finals and everything. I mean, but it is a great place for people to come and get curriculum layout that can be implemented into a program if a teacher wants to. There's also some companies like i2 Esports, which can help teachers or schools and institutions, especially in K through 12, build what are called bridge workshops. We hear of students in high school saying, hey, my favorite YouTube or Twitch streamer does this, and it's like the bottom third flies across the screen, or it's a stinger, which is a screen transition. They hit a button and it kind of comes together and it flips out and it shows a different screen model of what's there. And they're like, I would love to do that. And they're like, well, those are done in OBS, which is a broadcast software, but the art is done in Photoshop or InDesign or After Effects. And the kids are like, can you show me? Yes, we have a class on it. We've had a class for years. The kids don't know that is how they connect. And when you open that door, all of a sudden they're like, I would love to do this. And you get them interested. And this is where kids that might be D students, not because they're bad kids, they just don't care. They're bored, right? They're ultra bright. And all of a sudden, now they have something, they're like, I didn't know that was this connection. Let's do that. And then the bridge workshops come from teachers that do teach any of the Adobe suite. They know all that stuff inside and out. What they don't know is how is Adobe and the different, whether for After Effects being an example, how is After Effects being used in esports? And somebody like an i2 Esports can actually help with that. It's not more of a training class. It's not a continuing education. It's just you as a teacher already know how to teach this. Let us show you how to tweak it a little bit so that your students are taking it and then using it in their esports program, or whatever they might be doing at home from a YouTube perspective, or being a streamer or influencer or creating content, whatever it might be. It gives them the ability to not have to modify what they're learning. They're literally learning one-to-one, which is what those universities are doing. That is how we're seeing curriculum. And that's why I say it's incomplete. People are teaching it differently. They're focusing on different pieces, but the core of how they're taught or what is taught is usually the same. Esports isn't quite there yet, but in this next 5 to 10 years, as things start to really amp up and schools are starting to tie it into their curriculum, you're going to see a lot more of it. No, across the board. And that usually gets quite a bit of pushback, but let me explain why. And let's start with K through 12 this time instead of higher ed, because they're both about the same. Usually, esports programs are looked at like business cases, use cases. And the fact that a school is giving X amount of dollars in order to build an esports program, money still has to come from somewhere, which means it has to be removed from somewhere else. That means that the money being used, much like a business, has to be influential and usable. Now, granted, proper esports programs that are built grow like crazy. It's like Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. And that is sort of correct in a certain format, but there's engagement strategies and stuff like that we could talk about to kind of go there. If you take curriculum day one, you say, we as a school need esports curriculum the first day, and you do not have an esports program, you will have nobody or limited people in that classroom. From a business perspective, if you have put money into an esports program and you're expecting there to be butts and seats in that classroom filling 20 seats as an elective, and you see 3, you would consider that program to be a failure, right? Because you're basing it off of curriculum and the fact that you have not yet built your community around that program at your high school. If you give it 1 year, and that's really all you need is about a year, maybe a year and a half, right? You now have the ability, if you've been engaging correctly and you're building people up and you're bringing students in and you're showing them that there is a safe space for them at school, now all of a sudden you might have 40, 50, 60, 100 plus kids as part of this program, and you go to them and you say, what do you want to learn? And they tell you, and you're like, we are going to offer something like this next semester. You can sign up for it starting this date. I can almost guarantee you that class will be full. Now you have the ability to show from a business perspective that this program is not only working from a growth perspective of how many students are in the program, but also how many are taking the classes. And then you can expand your classes base because now you have a focus group of students who can tell you what they want to learn. Higher education is very much the same thing. Now, granted, students are coming to university or college or 2-year, whatever it might be, or even trade schools now, in order to learn something very specific. But the adaptation of some of the classes that are there gives students the ability to potentially come to the school specifically for that. So they might love esports as a program, as something to do when they're at school. They really enjoy gaming. Awesome. Oh, I'm going for production, or I'm going for marketing. Well, hey, you, instead of going to your marketing classes and trying to make what you learn work as a university, if you take a little bit of time and say, we're going to have a marketing 202 and it's actually focusing on esports, that student can then leave your class and walk in and start automatically doing what you just taught them. That's the difference. And if you try to do that day one and there is no esports program, the same thing's going to happen. Like if you don't have that group on campus, that not only a student-backed space, but a school-backed space that for the school saying, we actually really put money and effort behind the health and wellness of this esports program, and we have a varsity team and we have, everything else. That shows students that you want to be part of it. You understand that even though you as a school might not really get it because you're not a gamer, you still have value in the students. And now we're offering these classes because you can do the same thing. Focus group, how many students want to learn XYZ? Or out of the students that are part of the program, what are their majors? How many are undefined? Whatever. You can then find a way to create curriculum, even little bits and pieces, instead of a full-blown curriculum, baby step it over time and start to integrate that.